Hello, everyone. This is Donna Marie, and welcome to another episode of the Best Life of Wellbeing series. Today, I'll be interviewing my beautiful NOLA sister, Mickalyn Gisele Valentine. Mickalyn is a U.S. Air Force retired veteran with over 22 years of service, and she will share her amazing journey with us of how she is currently managing and living with PTSD. She's also a breast cancer survivor and a colon cancer survivor, and an amazing sister with an extremely big heart. I didn't know your story, a cancer survivor, colon cancer survivor, breast cancer survivor, you know, being in all of those leadership positions, serving in the military, and going through all that you've gone through. Every time I have been in your presence, you're smiling. Every time I'm in your presence, you're welcoming. Just made me want to have a conversation with you so that we can share with other people how you are living your best life. You are not only managing your talents and your resources to include your finances, but you're giving back with all of the gifts that God has provided to you. You recognize that we're not in this alone.
Exactly. And that was instilled in me by my parents. That was in my family. Yeah, I saw it in the way they give to people, the way they help family, they gave they last, and people in the neighborhood. And always told me your blessings, pass your blessings on to other people. So without, and I just, it's just a natural thing.
And you
Yeah.
have a military family as well.
Yes, my dad, Vietnam. I had a grandfather in World War II. Um, I had uncles and aunts. I had an uncle who actually lost his life in Vietnam. Some of my cousins, Navy, Air Force. So it's a part of my family history of serving in the military.
I heard you say your dad really didn't want you to join the military.
He didn't because one of the things as a child, I witnessed my dad have breakdowns and cry, and he would tell me these stories about things that happened during Vietnam. And I was too young to understand that he actually had PTSD.
Did your dad
So,
know he had PTSD?
he may have, it was something that we rarely talked about, but I just remember the episodes. I remember there was this time when he came back, they gave him this. It was like, for instance, if we go to an assignment, they give us a plaque. He had this sword, and it was a sword, and it had his name and stuff engraved in it. And I just remember him just sometimes having holding on to that sword. And then I also remember sometimes he was just in tears. He told me a story that when he left Vietnam, and he was getting off the airplane. He was walking through the airport with his uniform on, and somebody spit on him. So he had to go into the bathroom, and he changed into his civilian clothes. First of all, he's an African American soldier fighting for a country who didn't really love him. So it was just so many different things that he would tell me, and at that time, I would just listen and, hold his hand or wipe his tears or give him a big hug and say, Daddy, I love you. And I didn't realize what he was going through. I just, all I knew, it was just a little girl trying to comfort my daddy, so I was too young to realize what was going on, even about what actually Vietnam was. I didn't even know what Vietnam was at that time. And now that I know more about it and I recognize things in myself, then I was like, wow, this is what my dad was suffering through.
Yeah.
And even sometimes as caretakers, or spouses or kids, some families break up because of that when they don't understand, because sometimes we don't even understand. I know I don't even understand some of the stuff I experience. So I can only imagine what caretakers and spouses, and so that's why I started my group to try to help people to understand.
Well, since we were on this topic, let's just dive right in. One of the things we wanted to highlight today was post-traumatic stress disorder. And
Mm-hmm.
before we start, I just want to talk a bit about, and I'm going to be looking down to read a bit about your career and some of the places you were stationed.
I was in Turkey, and it was a lot of stuff going on. They had just had the bombing, in Yemen, even though that was not close, but certain things fell into place. So I opted to come to Andrews. And then the day I signed into Andrews Air Force Base when, my first day of work was 9/11. And even though, like I said, there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about,
Right.
When I was in Turkey, but I was assigned to OSI, which is like, you know how you watch TV, NCIS on TV. I was assigned to the Air Force version of that. So as you can imagine, there was so many things going on, especially being on foreign soil.
Right.
So it was it was a culture thing. There were some things, some things that are just still etched in my mind that it's like, wow.
How did you learn that you had
Um,
symptoms or had PTSD?
the heaviness I was telling you around the holidays,
Yes.
and then an incident that occurred at the Pentagon. I was out in the food court, sitting out like a beautiful day like today, and I was eating my lunch, and a plane flew over the top. And before you know it, and before I realized, I had taken cover behind the bench. And my food was over here, my purse was over here. And so this Army soldier comes over and reaches out his hand to me to help me up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed because nobody else that I saw reacted but me. And he told me it was okay. It happens all the time. So he asked me, were you in the military? And I said, yes. And he said, yeah. So it was just different things like that. Again, the unexplained heaviness, the fear of everything. Sitting in the front seat with somebody while they're driving. And then I started, like I said, I would have these vivid dreams of things that I did that I can't really talk about.
Yes.
And so I've seen a few bodies. I've seen the holidays. It's like we're coming up on the holiday. It's always the toughest for me. But this particular holiday, it's going on 4 years now. I was in a deep, dark place. I was in such a dark place that I was even contemplating, thinking about, And I had to fight through it. Even that, I could never understand why. But then I started thinking, well, you were deployed on some of these days. You were in tents on some of these days. You might have been in out in the dugout in the ground on some of these days, in a foxhole on some of these days. And I just had this thing where my family or even people here in the local area or wherever I was stationed at said, why don't you come over to my house? And I was like, nope, I just want to stay home. So I would stay home during the holidays. But it's like as soon as the holidays were over with, I was fine. And even like when I made it home for Christmas for the first time in 2 years, I was I was nervous. I was like, my family's here. I'm smiling, but I just got this heavy heart, and I just, I'm faking it. I'm faking it to make it to be around my family. But all I really want to do is just get curled up in the bed and just cover up and just make the day go away.
Yeah.
And it was just so many different instances. Oh my God, don't ever fire fireworks around me. If I hear fireworks, I will go berserk. My son lives in Tampa, and he surprised me and took me to a Tampa New Orleans Saints game. Unbeknownst to me, they fired that cannon, and I freaked out.
Yeah.
So, once I got my composure, the look on his face and the look on my grandson's face, I felt awful and embarrassed because, I just went into this deep, kind of like huddling, like down by this chair, and they couldn't understand what was going on with me. So it was just different things like that. Because in Turkey, you would hear that. You would hear when they're praying, when they're praying and the music and stuff, there was nothing threatening about it at all. There was nothing threatening about the Turkish people. They treated us with great respect and everything, but it was just something about the environment of, everything else that was associated with it. So to this day, I can't watch movies, war movies or terrorist movies. I just can't do it. It's like it's a challenge for me to watch those certain things. It's a visible scar that they're still trying to figure out how to, or an invisible illness, how to maintain and how to cure it, if at all, because you're consistently playing those events over and over in your head. There's sometimes I have these vivid dreams that are just like as if I'm just there, like I'm in my uniform, and things are happening. Sometimes they aren't even things to scare you, but I have dreams about, because of things that I saw and things that I did. I have those dreams, and I mentioned about the airplanes, because of some of the experience during 9/11. Um, yeah, it's a it's a daily struggle, because I'm blessed. I have one of the best jobs. There's some of my veterans brothers and sisters, they can't even maintain a job, and I have everything. I'm blessed beyond belief. But then there's some days I'm just so sad, and I just don't understand. I'm heavy, I'm carrying this load. It's like I don't understand it sometimes.
How do you practice self-care? Like, how do you care for yourself besides taking care of other people? Because I know that helps immensely when you're not, when you're recognizing, one, that you're not the only person going through it, and you can be with a sister or a brother or a comrade. It helps immensely. I know that from firsthand. But what do you do to take care of Mickalyn?
I'm learning how to, especially during this time, I'm learning how to just shut off everything, the TV, the phone, and just sit there for like 5 minutes or so. I want to learn. I've been looking up ways on YouTube and stuff on how to. Of course, I pray, but I really want to get into the meditation of, I'm strong. To really believe it instead of just saying it. So I've been practicing that. And remember, I was telling you, I have this paper together. If I had time, I will pull it up. It's called Nourishing My Soul. So I've been writing down different things. I have a moment to um, drink tea. It's something as simple as that. And one of my favorite things to do is coloring.
Yeah.
I still have colors from like coloring books. I have old broken up colors. That's something I've always love. I know they say you're 56 years old almost, and I've been collecting Barbie dolls for years. So I get into my collection of different things, and I've turned my sunroom into it's like my butterfly sanctuaries. So I sit in there, and it kind of made that more of a peaceful atmosphere, and with all my butterflies and different things like that. I turn off the noise of TV. Like I used to love Law and Order and different things like that. I don't watch that anymore. I try to watch things that are like basically nourishing for my soul. I'm a documentary person. My jazz. I love Nina Simone. And one of my favorite songs from her is I Just Want to Know What It Feels Like to Be Free. And she talks about, I want to break the chains and I want to fly away like a bird. So, I feel myself getting into those, having those days, I just try to find something you know, to move forward. And one of the things is helping others. My therapy is being able to help someone else see that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. You look at my face. I always say, if you look at my face and there's so many pieces of me, you wouldn't even think that I'm even going through anything because I'm always smiling. But sometimes when I'm smiling, I got that knot in my stomach, and it's just like something just gnawing at me, and I'm just trying to fight through it. There's a lot of people out there hurting. They just have no hope. They don't have any hope. And I have people like you, and I have a support system. I have a incredible family, and some of the people, they don't have that. So those are the type of things that I do to kind of, and even though they may seem like there's really nothing to that, that's what I love to do.
So do
Yeah.
you exercise? And are you
Yeah, I have my
professional
I,
therapy, like all any of that?
I need to. I have not done the professional therapy in a long time. I honestly, sometimes we want to, like I said, I'm so busy helping other people until I bottle up a lot of stuff inside of me and just kind of just maintain. Um, and even now during COVID, because we've lost so many family members, it's almost as though my elders reach out to me for comfort. I have my little chair I put out on the porch, or I walk, and I have an exercise bike right by my bed. And I've been contemplating on getting me a recliner because I just think that would help me when I'm in my bedroom to instead of staying in the bed, stuff like that.
Do you mind if we talk a bit about cancer? You talked about breast cancer and you were interned
Hmm.
and you didn't tell anybody.
Nope. I went to the doctor, and you can see doctors off. Went to the doctor, and I kept going to the doctor. Somebody said you need, they recommended me to somebody off on, you know, and yeah, I just
So you went through chemo or radiation and or whatever. What did you actually?
well, I did go through that, but it wasn't well. At least, to be honest with you, I just showed up. They did it, and I was just so overwhelmed with all of it. If I could say, if you were a doctor, you were telling me, well, you got this going on, I was just I just wasn't retaining it. All I know is I needed to get better, and I did what it took to get better.
Yeah,
I was it was giving me stuff in my arm. I had it was like a port, but it really, because I was in a different country. I had to go to Germany a couple of times or whatever, and I had people to sit in and stuff. So it was like, I know it sounds crazy, but it was like all a blur, because all I kept thinking is I just got to be here for my kids.
yeah,
Um, I don't want to. My main focus, I didn't want to get medically discharged. I just felt like if I got out the military, I was gonna just be lost. Um, I didn't want to, and that was the first time I was being a mom by myself with no help from nobody else.
yeah.
And I figured it out. And when I got back to the States, just to show you what military women or anybody in the military go through, but women go through. I have a friend, she and I both were going through the colon cancer. And she one day she had a treatment, and she had a severe reaction, or she wasn't feeling good, an infection. So she called me up. It was maybe like 11ish at night, and she was like, I'm in so much pain. So I go in, normally we had this chief master sergeant. He would help us out, but we couldn't get him on the phone that particular night because it was late at night, and he was kind of like our buffer. And I went to go pick her up. I was so nauseated, and she was nauseated. I pulled into the 7-Eleven, and it was like you would thought it was something in the movies. We both opened up each one of our doors, and we started throwing up.
Oh my God.
So it's kind of funny now because we laugh about it all the time. The clerk comes out and say, "Oh my God, do y'all need help? Do I need to call anybody?" And we was like, "No." So I got out the car, and I went got some ginger ale, and we sat there for a minute, and some water. So I got back into my truck and drove to Andrews. When I got to Andrews, our executive director, he had esophageal cancer, throat cancer. And that's when my dad passed from eventually esophageal cancer. He's at the emergency room waiting for me to get there. So all three of us collectively going through what we're going through, but we're there for our sister. Here's this guy
That's a
who's a senior executive serviceman who took the time, well, that's just how he was, got out of his bed. And even though he's going through what he's going through, and at the time his daughter had cancer, she was getting a what do you call it? They're putting an IV in. The nurse, I don't know if they were brand new or whatever. She just couldn't get it. And I just took the thing out of her hand and put it in there myself. Because it was just like, I was just trying to be self-sufficient, you know. If V felt like she was about to, I just cut my hand and caught her. You know, she was throwing, and then she threw it, and I just. So it's just those type of things that I think about, even though that I was going through. All three of us together collectively, in a sense, wasn't even really a whole person. That is how the military works. We bond together no matter what. Yeah. You know, and it doesn't matter the race. It doesn't matter, you know, your background, whatever. When you're in situations like that, you just figure it out. Whether you're in that foxhole, whether you're here or there, you know. And I've run into the ignorance. I've run into the prejudices, and then I had to let them know, like, I'm just like you. You know, you don't have to be that way. Somehow I'm going to make that difference. I'm going to make a difference. And I also, now as a civilian, I represent the veterans. And so my brothers and sisters, if I could say, that's like one of the most important things in my life right now, just to make sure that they are okay, and that what can I do to make things better for them. And I don't even know these people personally, except through Facebook. You know, I just try to find ways to make this world a better place, not just by speaking it, but just trying to do my part, you know. And if I could save the world, I would.
You're already doing it. And that's one of the reasons I wanted this video, this interview. I wanted to be able to share your story. I want to encourage you by showing other people what it takes to survive, what it means to live your best life. You are humble and loving, and you weren't taking any of the racism. I mean, even hearing the story of your daddy being spit on, you didn't bring that anger with you. Although I know that didn't just hurt him, that hurt you. But you walked with love. You continue to love people, and you, like you said, you weren't trying to be anybody else. You just wanted people to see the love that's in you, the love you learned from your parents, the love you learned from your friends, and your leadership from your training in not just at home, but also in the military. You are a woman of integrity, classy, all the way. And I love you. You are just beautiful.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you for thinking of me and doing this. I appreciate you.